No, I'm really serious. I think that's a good idea.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about?
It's about nothing.
No story?
No, forget the story.
You gotta have a story.
Who says you gotta have a story?
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no spoon.
There is no spoon.
I'll tell you what it's worth. Not a damn thing. It's a waste of time.
Good evening. Welcome to Frivolous Fandom. I am Mike.
I am Kev.
And tonight, we are talking about the truth.
We're learning a valuable lesson. D.T.A.
Don't
trust
anyone,
anybody,
anything,
anywhere.
anytime.
With us to help us discuss, we have a returning guest. Finally, we have a guest. His name, Nick Ecker. You might remember him from the spectacular sci-fi spectravaganza that we had a while back.
If that indeed is his real name, and this indeed is Nick.
We're not sure this is Nick because he's once again beaming in all the way from the East Coast on Skype. So, Nick, introduce yourself. Say hello.
Hello, I'm Nick.
Okay.
Allegedly.
That sounded extremely automated. I am now convinced. Nick, you are an artificial intelligence.
You're a robot, good sir.
And...
I can assure you that I am not a robot.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so prove yourself. Say something that only Nick would say.
If man was meant to run around naked and screaming, he would have been born that way.
Oh, that's Nick.
That's I don't know. If I don't quite know what it's supposed to mean, it's probably Nick.
No AI could skirt the line between insanity and truth so well.
So, as always, we're going to get into our pre-segment. Nick, did you have anything else that you think is vital for us to know about you so we know you're not an AI?
Yeah, you're just going to have to trust me.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Dang. You know, that's what you would say.
Totally subverting the whole thing we're going for here. But I like it. We'll work with it. So, real quick, Mike, I know that you've been itching. This is a couple weeks past now, but you've been itching to talk about it. Let's just get it out of the way real quick. The first conspiracy that we're discussing tonight, that Holly Holm, on steroids, clearly.
And Ronda Rousey stinks.
Right. The conspiracy was that Ronda Rousey was never any good. The UFC just built her up and protected her. That way they could have a star, right?
Which people who don't know anything about MMA need to stop typing things because
I'm pretty convinced that fight was legit, mostly because anyone that gets punched in the face for like 3 straight rounds, like
anybody,
lose, no matter how good they are, like
right. I mean, it's like before the fight, the girl never had a chance. She was an okay striker or whatever, even though she was a 12-time champion boxer. I don't know how.
Yeah,
like,
everyone kind of
downplayed her
that
striking.
fact.
And then, like, after the fight, it was kind of like, oh, we knew, like, she's a world-class striker. Like, clearly Ronda Rousey was going to be able to hang with that. Like, it was just funny, the way the tables turned.
Well, there's the thing that, like, Ronda Rousey was pretty visually, like, it was pretty obvious that she was not feeling this fight as well. I think someone told me that she's on record saying that she's definitely going to lose.
Well, I don't see the video clip I saw. I don't know if it's quite on that level of like guaranteeing a loss, but it's funny because on I think it was Jimmy Kimmel or Fallon, I can't remember. And this was like 2 months ago. She was kind of just discussing the fight and stuff. She said that she was probably like if she were to lose, it was going to be because she got kicked in the face.
Yeah,
and she goes, she's going to like bait me into being overly aggressive and wear myself out and kick me in the face, and that's exactly how she lost. So it I don't know. I just think you're right. Yeah. I think she wasn't feeling it.
She might have called that, also, like, you could tell that because in previous matches, if I'm, like, correct me if I'm mistaken, but for the most part, Ronda Rousey's been a pretty good sportsman.
Well, see,
I
mean, she talks trash, but like she's not like a dirty fighter or something. It's not like
it's not like John Jones to where she's got she doesn't have a reputation for actually cheating in the fight.
Yeah, right. Which I can respect. Like obviously, when you're 12-0 and the world is in your lap, like you're gonna be a little cocky.
Yeah,
and let's not act. By the way, like that's not fueled the fighting industry for like generations.
She has to play a character. Honestly, my take on the fight is this: she's boxed in to having to fight stand up, or she gets yelled at for being linear. So she bit the bait, hook, line, and sucker, and decided to try to outbox
She probably
this person.
wanted to prove to her that she can.
I got stand up. Yeah, you have good stand up. You don't have 12-time world boxing champion stand up.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
So
I mean, early on, she almost had the armbar, like hip throw and armbar combo that is her like staple.
Right.
But like as soon as that was reversed, like I began to think, don't know about this one.
Well, yeah, and Holly Holm was just bigger and stronger for one thing. So I mean,
having like a foot on Ronda Rousey is, that's not insignificant.
You're right.
No.
Right.
Well, and that's the thing too. She was also not. I mean, the thing about grappling is you can stick to it if it's not working. But she gave up on it entirely.
Right.
Like, the thing, I mean, and granted, that also might be because I'm thinking of it as a jiu-jitsu and wrestling perspective, where there's lots of transitions. You have to be standing up to do judo throws, though.
Yeah, and I just don't think she was ready to not be in control. I mean, let's face it, she's been in control of every fight for years now.
Yeah.
So it's a different thing.
That's true.
And, it's kind of like some teams that are just good from playing from behind. Like, it's the same thing in fighting. Like, it's a totally different thing trying to fight. Because you can win a fight where you're not in control. I know. I watched, who's the guy that put Chael Sonnen in the triangle choke? And
Silva.
The most famous guy, Silva. I don't know. I couldn't think of his
the previous GOAT.
Right, but there's the case of, like, you can win a fight not being in control, but you need to understand, like, you have to be an opportunist, and, like, it's just totally different. So, give it to Holly Holm, like, definitely was the better fighter the other night. I'm not ready to say she's a better fighter overall.
Well, and everybody better back off and saying, Ronda Rousey's not good. It's like,
Right.
Shut up.
Right, and...
Like, you don't go 12-0 if you're not good.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Right.
If a person with a Y chromosome had done that,
oh, we'd be freaking out.
we'd be talking about how they might be the greatest ever. Like,
Right.
there's a little... I'm sorry, there's a little bit of sexism and a little bit of overhype on Dana White's part at play with everybody being like, go Ronda Rousey... And then post-fight, oh, she sucks. I knew she was terrible the whole time. She's a terrible person.
I tricked all of you.
Pretty much.
And, like Cain Velasquez, by the way, he got knocked out by Junior Dos Santos, and you might have said, oh, he sucks because he got knocked out in 30 seconds, but he came back and beat him in the rematch. So, one fight is not at all. That's all we'll say on that.
Well, you know what? Any given... with fighting, sometimes you zig and they zag, and that's just it,
Take this from the guy with the word zig in his name.
Yep.
It's not. It's actually not. It's not.
my name,
They use the world's preeminent zig expert.
Right. Somehow Ziggy McWiggy, Zillweger becomes Ziggy McWiggy after, like, that's a conspiracy.
God knows everybody adds a G, an extra G.
We have never seen Michael Zillweger and Ziggy McWiggy in the same place.
You realize there now has to be a video of me in a costume that has two Z's, like Ziggy McWiggy, like ZWZ.
And this is also coming from the magic voice that we can't confirm.
You're right?
On the other
I feel like
end of
this is all just a trap.
Yeah, right.
I can assure you that this is definitely not a trap.
Oh, God, you're too good at that.
So, let's go into our pre-segment. This pre-segment ties more strictly into the main segment than usual. Well, I guess technically the Ronda Rousey thing was the pre-segment. So this will just be an official segment. Because I wanted to talk about Halo 5. Not so much the game, although I do want to touch on that with you a little bit, Nick. But I want to talk about the marketing campaign, the whole Hunt for Truth podcast that they put out. We'll link it in the description for anybody who is not familiar, just hasn't had time to, like, listen to it, and this is their reminder.
Check it out.
Hunt the Truth, it was a... What would you call it? It's a show, technically. It's a podcast,
Yes,
but...
I wasn't too familiar with the podcast itself, but I am familiar with the Hunt for Truth ad campaign, which basically says that, like, hey, off the record, like, the official record says Chief is dead.
Right.
And then, like... And so, basically, it implies that I'll be honest, the main protagonist squad, Fire Team Osiris, which is headed by Spartan Locke.
Right.
It basically says, like, in no uncertain terms that, hey, you're going to go kill the Master Chief.
Right. So that way, you're going to make sure our story lines up with, like, the rhetoric of, like, Chief is dead.
Yeah, and it even played into it with some of the actual plot points from the game are mixed in there. I won't tell you which ones quite yet, because Halo 5 is still relatively new.
Right.
But it does mix in some of the actual points from the plot. To kind of augment the hunt for truth thing, but at the very end of the day, that's not the actual plot of the game.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So here we'll get to that because I've heard from multiple sources that this whole like dynamic of Master Chief as the
possible antagonist.
Yeah, like he's wanted for these crimes and stuff, and it's a game of cat and mouse, and the one guy's like chasing after him. Like this whole catch me if you can thing never really comes to fruition.
Well, the first commercial they have for it literally
is the guy like looking at Chief on the ground, like about to shoot him in the head.
All hail the conquering hero.
Right? Yeah. So
but then there's also like the one that they released like alongside it, which is
Chief
on the ground and Chief is about to shoot him.
Right. Real quick side note, I don't know if I'll be able to get into it, but I watched the first episode of Jessica Jones today, and
any good?
Well, I couldn't get over it. I was like, "Who is Power Man?" Because like you meet Power Man in the first Luke Cage in the first episode, and I'm like, "Man, that guy looks familiar." So I finally IMDb'd him, and it was Spartan Locke. Like his voice and his face, is like who they use for Spartan Locke.
Interesting,
right? So the interesting thing about that is the Hunt. So the Hunt the Truth was a 2-part show. Well, it was many parts, but now you can go listen to it because they released it on a weekly thing. But you can go listen to it in its entirety now. So they call it Season 1, Season 2. Season 1 actually doesn't really tie in too much to the Hunt the Truth commercials. It's voiced by Keegan-Michael Key, and he's a reporter, and he kind of uncovers this whole conspiracy behind the Spartan program incidentally while he's trying to run like a biographical about the Chief. Well, he runs a biographical about the Chief, I think, because he was dead, maybe. So maybe that's how it ties.
Bad timing.
Right. Well, it was like to like honor the Chief, basically.
And to be quite honest, like for a while there, like everybody believed the Chief was dead. So
right.
Like between Halo 3 and Halo 4, like it was pretty much assumed that hey, Chief's dead. Like he didn't come back with everybody else, so he must be dead.
Right. Because apparently, he's on a ship with a fully functioning infinite power supply, even though it's missing half the ship. But I digress.
Pseudoscience.
You're right.
You got the reactor half.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're lucky. He's actually lucky, believe it or not. As lucky as one can be when half of their ship.
Hey, man, that's why you got picked to be Spartan 117.
Right.
Lucky.
So the fun thing with the Hunt the Truth, for me at least, and because I've never really been into the Halo lore, like at least not up until recently. I've been kind of getting more into it, in large part because of this podcast. But you learn a lot about the Chief's history and sort of like more so with ONI and like their whole, which stands for what? Office of Naval
Intelligence,
which is like basically the CIA to the UNSC's like military.
It's just the Office of Military Intelligence.
Okay.
I mean, we have an Office of Military Intelligence that's separate from the CIA or NSA.
Okay. So, but basically, usually the culprits for all conspiracies in half of the movies and video games,
it's like the secret intelligence agency.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but it's kind of fun and
also makes out the word that means demon in Japanese.
No kidding.
Kidding.
Right. Because nobody calls it ONI because ONI. Who has time to say ONI?
ONI.
That's like 2 extra syllables, man.
Right. When you're a big, when you gotta save galaxies, you don't have
we're
time
paying
for
these voice actors by the hour.
Right. Yeah, Keegan-Michael Key doesn't come cheap at this point in his career.
I'm Groot.
Oh my gosh.
I really think that they just recorded Vin Diesel saying that like 4 different times and just played it over and over again in the movie.
I never thought that the Iron Giant would be a far more eloquent role for that man than anything else that he could have done.
I know, right? Back on topic.
Sorry. So, anyways, then part 2.
Look at the voice that we don't know who it is. He's keeping us on track.
I know. I like this guy. Maybe we should keep him around.
Maybe he wants us to be on track.
I think he's leading us to think that he's on our side.
This is not a trap.
So part 1 involves this reporter kind of uncovering this larger mystery that he can't let go, and then he gets like swept up into this like freedom fighting group, and then there's this like mysterious entity called Firo that like masks their voice. Then you find out it's this woman, and then you kind of like start to uncover all this about her. And then season 2, that Firo character, she's the main character of that, and she's the one like talking in the microphone and stuff. And then that one is more about the Guardians themselves, and like they get these reports of these anomalies happening in deep space and these planets that are coming under like distress and stuff. And so it's hard. I didn't know what the Guardians were at the time, and I guess that was like they didn't market that at all. It's Halo 5 : Guardians, but they never really said why it was called Guardians.
Yeah.
Yes, that was something that actually it was sort of shown in the original E3 trailer.
Okay.
The one that has nothing to do with the rest of the game.
Yeah.
That is actually more accurate to what the rest of the game is, but
I mean, Nick, can you give us like
Guardians,
a summary of what they are, I guess, without giving away too much?
Okay, if you watch that first trailer, which hopefully you guys link it in the bottom in the description, but if you watch that first trailer, it's Chief, and he's wearing like a cloak, and he's walking in the desert, and then like this gigantic 400 construct basically like comes out of the ground in front of him.
Okay.
That's what the Guardians are. That's one of
So
those
it is
things.
Forerunner like technology.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Wonder technology, and like basically without giving away like a lot of the plot, like who is behind the Guardians and like why
or who the Forerunners are, because if you know the fluff or you've been paying attention. Oh, go
it
ahead.
actually doesn't go too much into who the Forerunners are. Actually, in this game, the didactic is surprisingly absent.
See, okay, so let's just talk about that real quick. So one of the things a lot of people didn't like Halo 4 was that they felt it went too deep into the lore and was very much connected in like to the books and to a lot of the external material, not strictly the games.
Well, and the fluff has always had a lot of conspiracy undertones.
Right.
There's a conspiracy about Sergeant Johnson. He's not who he says he is. He has a history with the Covenant.
Johnson was not who we thought they were.
Yeah, I mean it's nothing like game shattering, but like
Right.
he was one of the first humans to ever fight the Covenant on
Okay.
Harvest. Like
Okay.
back when they knew about the Covenant
Yes.
and weren't telling everybody about it.
Right. Well, for Halo 4 though, more so with like they talk about how humanity is going to take up the mantle and how
I don't
like,
know if this is a spoiler or not.
and they
so I'm
never
not gonna say
explain
anything.
what the mantle was in the game, which is, in my opinion, it was a mistake because, and I've talked to people that read the books and are like, love the Halo 4 story, and then other people are like, I didn't even know it was happening.
Well,
half the time.
they actually have told you already who the Forerunners are.
Right.
I'm not going to say anything other than that. But if you paid attention in the first 3, you already know. And then if you read the books, they come out and tell you. So it's a bit of a twist, but it's not like it's a
Right.
little mind befuddling. But
Right.
other than that, I'm not.
But you got to think like some people hadn't played the first 3 Halo games since they came out. You know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, oh, yeah.
Like 6 years before. Nick,
Yeah.
did you have
Yeah.
something you wanted to say?
It's true. Also, like, going back to the actual, like, conspiracy theory stuff. So, Autumn's and Angel Intelligence, like, the big conspiracy there is that, for the Spartan 1 program, that was military veterans that were just basically given the best equipment and, like, sent on special missions. But Spartan 2 was, they kidnapped these kids with high potential and replaced them with, like, Flash clones that would just very quickly die of a mysterious illness.
Right, and that's what the Hunt the Truth, the one with Keegan-Michael Key. That's where you learn all about that.
Yeah, and that's really not like they touch on the ethicality of the Spartan program a little bit in the very, very beginning of Halo 4, in the very like opening trailer.
Right, with where she's being like a Halsey, who was like the scientist behind the whole program, was like being interviewed basically.
Well, and
Yeah.
half of the UNSC wants Halsey to be executed for crimes against humanity at this point.
Oh man,
Like they
Because,
want her like accountable.
Because like another thing about that is the Spartan 2 program, the Spartan 1, Spartan 2 programs actually started before the whole war with the Covenant. they weren't originally gonna fight the Covenant.
Right.
And
They
it
ended up
was
saving.
originally fight the Covenant.
Right. They ended up defeating the Covenant, so they spun it as like, oh look, we designed these super soldiers to help this threat, but that wasn't what they were for.
Well, and they were just, and that's
Because they were designed to oppress the outer colonies, and that's another aspect of the story I'd never really like gone into, was this whole idea of like there are these outer colonies that are colonized by Earth, but they're not like, they don't see themselves as like the same race necessarily as the people of like from Earth.
well, they're just it's kind of like in StarCraft with the Dominion versus the Collective. They don't see them. They're not under your
Right.
Earth's jurisdiction as far as they're concerned. You know,
Right.
Britain, UK.
It's been enough generations that they've been
sorry.
like on this planet. Oh well, like once you're born on that planet, you view yourself as like, I don't know what they're called, like any
Yeah,
other planet.
basically just a citizen of that planet. not
Right.
some-
I mean,
Right.
really, it's kind of like United States, United Kingdom,
Right.
or Kingdom of Great Britain at the time. You know, they just
Yeah,
they're
I mean, like we've
we're
been
our own
here
thing.
long enough that none of us really think of ourselves as British, like especially on the East Coast.
Right.
People that are directly descended from early British colonists, and people like out west that are directly descended from Hispanic settlers that came over with the Spanish. They don't really see themselves as like, hey, I'm a
Spaniard.
I am Spanish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if they're born in America, they pretty much almost universally, hey, I'm American, and it's kind of like the same idea of
Right.
the outer colonies.
Right. I don't see myself as British, but I do enjoy a spot of tea.
On chimney sweeping.
And I enjoy keeping my chimney sparkly clean. But, anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. So, basically, they designed them to not oppress necessarily, but just like keep order.
Oh no,
like,
no, they
amongst
were
that
designed
outer
to,
colony.
because they were the colonies basically told Earth, we're done listening to you, we're going to do our own thing. Earth's like,
said-
oh yeah, we're going to come stop you, and then the
They
colonies,
said as if.
yeah, the colonies rose their army, and then UNSC is like, okay, we're going to get yelled at if we just go and start killing people, so we're going to make these special forces that are almost unbeatable,
Right.
and we're going to just send them in to kill things.
Right. And that's where John 117 comes in. So he was a child soldier that was abducted from his family. Spoilers.
Well, and his first mission was assassinating a
Right.
rebel leader. But anyways,
So
That actually ties in because Halo Nightfall, the TV, Netflix, whatever.
Hey, is that worth a watch, by the way? I've been meaning to
I
ask
actually
somebody.
have not watched it.
Okay.
The general plot synopsis, but in the very end, it's revealed that Chief is actually younger than all of the people that he's rescuing. And at the very end, I think they revealed that his age was like 14 or something.
Okay.
When he rescues all these people, the Master Chief, or Spartan 117, rescues all these people that are being attacked by the Covenant. And he is 14, and at that point, and he had already been active fighting against outer colonists as far as like the original Halo lore was concerned. So
Right.
it does have like that troubling, like, holy crap, he was probably like 12, like 11 or 12.
He started killing
16.
dudes
Yeah.
like left and right.
well, and I mean, the death count. I mean, well, we need to wrap this up so we can move on. But the death count for the Spartan 2 program was absurd.
Right.
I
Was
want
it Mongol levels?
85% of the candidates died before they got to
Oh,
trial
you mean
phase.
that like for the Spartans dying?
Yes.
Okay.
The death count
Because
was...
the technology wasn't developed.
Well, no,
enough
I
yet.
mean, they're like, listen, we don't have time to screen you to see if you're qualified. You matched pre-screening, so here's the hormone serum to make you hit puberty super fast and
Right.
grow to the size of the biggest athletes in the world.
Right.
Oh, by the way, and we're also going to fit you with a cyber skeleton that might not work with your body. Oh,
Right.
sorry, you turned into jelly. My bad.
Well, so
Yeah,
last
Chief is like 7 feet tall, and then his armor like gives him another 2 feet.
and
One of the things you don't realize.
that's I was gonna say in Halo 4 they actually did a lot of more work to make him seem bulkier and like have a weight to him. And in the cutscenes he looks 9 feet tall, which is cool because that made so much more sense. Because for him to be hand-to-handing like elites, like you know what I mean, he'd have to have that size to just have enough weight to throw around.
Well, and he's literally
Yeah.
a walking, moving tank.
Right.
He's that
so-
heavy.
All that
going-
is to say.
like moving on from Halo 5.
Hang on, just real quick. We should probably, before we move any further, I'm realizing.
Oh yeah,
We need to establish about conspiracies and like why we decided to talk to him tonight. So like with the whole Hunt for Truth thing, it made me realize that there was this deeper story of conspiracy in the Halo lore that like as a kid playing the first 3 Halos, like
Right over our heads.
right over my head. I never cared like to know. But it's made me realize that, you know, there's a lot of great conspiracies in gaming, and we're going to keep it to video games tonight, and obviously we could do a cast about movies, books, like, conspiracies go back, you know, as far as the eye can see. But, Nick, what do you think, in your opinion, makes conspiracy so compelling to the point that we keep seeing them as kind of like a reoccurring plot structure in a lot of mediums?
Okay, so, like, definitely fear of the unknown, in my opinion, is one of the big things.
Right.
Everyone is afraid of things that they don't understand, and part of what we do as humans is we assign attributes to things that we don't really understand. So, like animals, like we humanize them, like give them human characteristics when we describe them. But
it's funny. It's because
it's like they don't really think the same way that we do. So it's not really right to do that. Same thing with like events. Like we don't know why this happened, so like we start kind of digging into it and coming up with our own theories of that. You know. Makes sense to us,
right?
So we're going to assign these attributes that may not necessarily fit, but it makes sense to the people that do it. So you get this kind of tangled perception of like the actual event itself.
And then, well, and so it's funny because you made me think of this with the animal point that you made. Is that have you guys ever heard when somebody will be like, "Oh, like my cute dog, he thinks he's a person." Have you ever heard anybody say that, or they think they're a person?
That's half. I mean, that's actually half true, but it's not. That
but it's like no, you think they're a person.
Well, no. They don't think that they're a human. They think we're dogs. It's backwards. They do see us as members of their.
Well, but I'm saying like, oh, you know, he has this preference. Like he likes to eat his Fruit Loops, only the red Fruit Loops. Cause, you know what I mean? Like they started putting all these quirks to the dog. It's just like, no, you're the one separating only red Fruit Loops into his bowl.
Exactly.
I mean, they do. It's not that they think they's people; they think we's dogs.
And then, like with the events thing, for some reason, Nick, it brought to mind like Stonehenge. Like everyone's like, "Oh, aliens put that there." Like we don't know.
Or pyramids. Everybody's like, "How did the pyramids get there? Aliens must have." Like they found the quarry.
We have a lot of evidence that was like made by just ridiculous amounts of labor.
Well, okay,
not necessarily slave labor. Like
they drew how they did
there
it.
There are a lot of like paid professionals that built the pyramids.
Right.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, when the entire kingdom just eats off of whatever the farmers build, I mean, they found the quarry. They have the tools. They've done it. They've moved a stone slab the way they would have by putting water on the sand and rolling the logs. I mean, we know how they did it.
Right.
It's just misinformation.
Well, but yeah, and it took a lot of dedicated people. I mean, seeking out the answer on that. Like, I think for most of us, we can get comfortable with answers to things without looking for the evidence. You know what I mean? Like, and once that gets passed down a couple generations, like it's harder to differentiate like what was initially just grasping at straws and what has hard evidence to support it, I guess. You know what I mean?
Well,
and not to stray too much from video games, but if you look at the original like Apollo 11 conspiracy theories that we never actually went to the moon in the 50s.
Right.
Some of the things that people like point out as evidence, like there's like a rock that has a C on it, and next to it on the ground there's a C, and like there's a rock with an A on it, and next to the ground, next to it on the ground there's an A. Like those are actually very like. Someone photoshopped that. Like, the original pictures do not have
they don't
in
have
there.
those.
Well, you know, it's funny because I feel like there's an argument to be made that, like, the internet makes us all smarter. And, I mean, I think overall the scale would be that, yes, it does. But it's so easy to spread misinformation on the internet that I almost feel like it's harder to know what is true nowadays, even though we have so much more ways to obtain information. Like, it's harder to... if you don't learn how to differentiate it, you know what I mean, and like sift through what is what, like it's just kind of a fascinating little aspect to it.
Well, you know what? It's easier to and take 9/11 conspiracy theories. It is easy to ascribe a tragedy or a scary event to an unseen boogeyman that we define ourselves. We create this person, and therefore we set limitations and understand them. It's not truly unknown. Rather than accept that the world is, at the end of the day, a random and sometimes scary place that we can't control.
Right. It's weird, yeah, because like for a lot of the things with government conspiracies, it's like if it's the big bad government, which we already don't trust, then that is like easier to wrap our heads around or kind of accept, then yeah, this is out of even our government's control, who's supposed to be the most powerful entity in the world. Like, they can't even control this, you know what I mean? Like, that's scarier in some ways.
Oh yeah, at the very least, it's one of us that's behind the scenes,
right?
You know,
and then there's some of it is just misguided people too, like.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's also mental illness.
The anti-vaccine movement. That's
Oh
not
God.
necessarily a conspiracy, but also like the fluoride in water thing. A lot of other countries, especially in Europe, that have socialized healthcare, they put fluoride in the water to protect their teeth. Actually, overall, their dentist bills and like their dentists like are not as busy as ours because they have fluoridated water. It really does cut down on like tooth decay. Whereas here, you have like some schmuck that's like, holy crap, like industrial amounts of fluorine will melt through concrete.
Yep. So will the acid that's in your stomach, but you don't die from that.
Thank you, Nick, for making me now question one more thing. Besides whether or not you exist.
Well, you know, if the beginning of anybody's argument is, well, you know what the Nazis did, then they're probably not coherent.
I feel like that's always like a bad way to like frame an argument. If they're framing it by comparing it to Nazis, clearly they're like trying to trick your brain.
They're grabbing
like,
straws.
Just because it's not as bad as Nazis does not mean it's preferable.
It doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah, right. Like, it's a good choice.
Case in point, Stalin.
You're right. Hey, at least he wasn't Hitler. But he might have been worse than Hitler.
Why not, right?
So with that being said, we're going to address some games. And by the way, there was one fun conversation we kind of had to all of us where it was like, what's the difference between a twist and a conspiracy? Because they're not always the same thing. And it brought to mind like that South Park episode where they're like calling together, they're calling together the writers, to help them. I forget it was imagination.
No, I'm right, Shyamalan. That's not a plot. That's a twist.
Yeah. I felt like that. Like we were like, what are some conspiracies? And then like I would say one, and you guys were like, Kev, that's a plot twist.
Do you remember the one where they find out that Earth is just a reality TV show from space, and the guy's like stringing along random key facts, like in a Shyamalan movie. He's like, the number 6 wise men, 6 something, and he just like goes from
pieces it all together.
Yeah, he's like, we're an alien, we're an alien reality TV show. Oh my god! And like, oh crap, they figured, and then they zoom out to the aliens. The aliens like, crap, they figured it out.
By the way, there's 1, 2, 3 of us.
Half-Life 3 confirmed. Half-Life 3.
So let's frame it this way. We're gonna start talking about some games, and the biggest conspiracy of them all is that Half-Life 3 is even being made. If you believe that game is in the works, I got news for you. I really don't think they're even making it.
They're just gonna like every 10 years or so they're gonna release new concept art.
Like, have you guys heard the new rumor, the new fun one, is that they're developing Half-Life 3 in secret as a launch title for their VR hardware whenever it's ready.
Why would they? They're making so much money off of just selling games.
Well, because it would be a brilliant strategy if it didn't cost so much to develop that game. But, like, can you imagine the hoopla if they, and like, on Giant Bomb, I listened to their podcast, they were like fascinated with the idea of like, what if they just stealth released Half-Life 3? Like, they didn't announce it was going to be bundled with the VR, and then the day the VR dropped, they're like, oh, by the way, anybody who buys this, it comes with Half-Life 3.
Just
like, that was
really
the first
low-key
announcement.
and silent.
There would be little like riots in the street, dude.
I think E3 would be a bloodbath.
It would be super Black Friday. I mean, Black Friday wouldn't even register like on the Half-Life 3
Except
VR
that
Richter
Walmart
scale.
would be dealing with like troglodyte basement dweller people storming.
They'd be
the
dealing
Walmart.
with some people that had a lot of weight to throw around. Those basement nerds.
God. We should stop perpetuating that stereotype.
Right,
That's
it's
bad.
not true.
Like, so that thing about like Half-Life and Half-Life 2, especially like more so expanded on in the episodes, is that there's a secret like G-Man that seems to be pulling the strings from behind, like in the background.
Right.
And like over the course of the game's like 10, 15 years old now, so I'm not really concerned about spoilers. But
I think we're in the clear.
Yeah, it's like Star Wars.
Right.
Over the course of the game, there's like a lot of hints that he's not human, and he pretty much outright says that like he controls the fate of Gordon Freeman in so much as like he controls his contract, and he sells his contract out to the highest bidder. but you never learn anything about who the bidders are or like what their interests are.
Right.
So he makes it out to seem like everything that you've accomplished has been something that benefits like some unknown force.
Right. I mean, so that really like ties into all of our fears. I feel like really well in terms of like, what am I working for? Doesn't even matter.
Or even worse, am I being manipulated into serving something bad and I don't know it?
Right. And it's really hard. I wish we had more to go off of for the Half-Life conspiracy, because with the G-Man explicitly, because I feel like they left so much of that up to the imagination, and we were all thinking, hey, come Half-Life 3, we're going to get all the answers we've been waiting to...
Well, see, but I think that's part of the charm and the inherent ingredient you have to have for a good conspiracy theory.
I would argue that like leaving so much unknown is actually what makes it so effective.
It is, actually.
There has to be that little last patch of fog of war on the map to make you want to go out and look.
Right.
You know? And
it's like every horror movie. There's always like the conspiracy of like, what is the monster? Like, what is it? And it's almost always a disappointment when you find out what has actually been killing the people this whole time, or like what the origin story. I hate when they give you an origin story for the monster or
terrible.
the person doing the killing.
I mean, to do the origin story correct, you really do have to. It has to be so novel and so out from left field that it's still compelling, and that's I mean, that's hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
As a writer, you it's like, how do I do this?
Like,
just like
you can either spend all of your time and effort like making an effective horror story, you can spend all of your time and effort making an effective origin story, but it never seems like you can do both.
Well, and so often with like that stuff, last thing I'll say is just like with like horror movies, it's like you're kind of just like, what kind of a grotesque event, trauma could we put upon this guy or gal to make them into a killer? Like, there's really not much more to it than that.
Yeah.
And they just one up themselves of like, what's the worst thing that could happen? Like, okay, his family got murdered. Okay, well then the sequel, no, it turns out he killed him. Like, I don't know, it's just like always so cheesy.
Well, and honestly, this is kind of sad, but this is just how humanity works. Most of our monsters are based off of really cruel stereotypes or fears or irrational, ascribing like. The zombie was at first literally a fear of black people, like
voodoo magic.
The Haitian voodoo zombie.
Okay,
and then it
did not know that.
Yeah, and then it shifted to the communist threat, and now it shifted to mindless consumers, and now it's infectious diseases. Oh no! That's what 28 days later
is about consumerism.
And, yeah, consumerism.
Really?
Yeah, and Dawn of the Dead. I kid you not.
Yeah, Dawn of the Dead, I would argue more so. I don't think... Well, I would say actually 28 Days Later was more infectious diseases. And also...
Because, we need a movie about...
Too far.
We need a movie about zombies to make us realize we don't enjoy infectious diseases and should fight them.
Oh, God, that would be great. Oh, by the way, if you got this vaccine, you don't have to worry about the zombies.
But, by the way, speaking of super conspiracies... Do you know this Krampus thing?
Oh, God.
Krampus has been around for centuries, and I never even heard of him.
You know what?
Granted, I have not been around for all of those centuries.
It's because it is a Eastern European tradition that just never caught hold in England, and therefore never caught hold in America.
Right. Thank goodness. I mean, I would rather
Krampus
just...
is like a scary dude, man.
That's about the most Russian thing you can add to Christmas.
I would much rather just not get the gifts I was... like greedily asking for than getting beaten almost to death in the woods
or taken away to work in Santa's workshop. Like some of those mythoses don't include elves. It's the children.
Man.
It's the children.
Yeah. Oh no! Really? Is that what it is?
I kid you not.
Krampus
abducts
them.
This year for Christmas, Santa brought the bad children a lifetime of slavery.
Pretty much to make the good children all their toys.
What's that, Johnny? You asked for a fire truck? Well, too bad. You get a sweatshop for Christmas.
You're making fire trucks.
With that being said, last thing in the whole Valveverse, is that a term?
Yeah.
It's a term now.
Okay, we just made it a thing.
It's better than the alternative.
In the Valveverse, let's touch on Portal real quick, because obviously the Portal mechanic...
Well, first of all, the cake is in fact
a lie. Like that, the most notable thing from that game.
There is no cake.
A one sentence conspiracy catchphrase. But that was part of the appeal of the game, because if you think about it, the portal mechanic, they get real creative and use the whole momentum, conservation of momentum, and there's different gimmicks they do with it to keep it fresh and entertaining. But that game can't be any longer than it is, and it's only like a 2 to 3 hour game.
Yeah.
If it was any longer, I think it would grow stale. But
yes,
the thing,
definitely.
and so the thing that really stuck with people though was this conspiracy and how fascinating it was, because it seems so harmless. Like all the marketing for it was like it was just, oh, this is a fun little toy, you know what I mean? Like,
and then the more you learn about the universe, it is stupid dark.
Right,
it's so dark
to the point of like this robot just spends endless generations killing people that it has to run as tests, and murdered all the scientists that designed her in the facility,
and like every other test subject too.
It seems like in the Portalverse, that Valveverse or whatever, Portal probably in the real world started off as like a tech demo. Some guy found something. Hey, this is like. That's what it seemed like from all like the pre-release stuff, and then like they sort of, well, let's kind of throw a story on there, and it ended up working really well. So in the next one, they just ran with it, and that's when you get like the conspiracy theory of, oh, you're just one of like thousands of people that this robot has run through the ringer.
Right.
But also like you learned that there was the behind the scenes thing with Cave Johnson. And
oh my goodness. The best part of any Portal game, by the way, is the whole when you fall down to the bottom of the facility and have to go up through like the generations past test modules, and you get his commentary track throughout the whole thing.
On this good old Rat Man.
Oh yeah, that's so. There's like 5 conspiracies in one game, basically.
and then the fact that you know, Aperture Science and good old Black Mesa.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's a fun thing, is they've now connected the Portal verse to the. See that? Okay, so here's why we can call it a Valveverse, because they connected Portal to Half-Life. So boom, official.
Well, and here's the question: so after all the said and done with Gordon Freeman, does the world just become a lifeless wasteland in which Portal 2's backdrop happens?
Here's the thing, though. They never give you a timeline for when the Portal games are happening, so it could be happening concurrently with the Half-Life games. It could be a prequel.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there a huge time jump between Portal 1 and 2?
Yes, I think so.
Because remember, the whole facility got like repossessed by nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's long enough that in this tutorial they can punish me for having like a serious case of brain damage.
Right.
And I believe at the very end of Half-Life 2 Episode 2, right before the twist ending, they say that there's this ship that you're going to that was an Aperture Science shipping vessel.
Okay.
Yep.
So, and as well as the offhand remarks about Black Mesa made in the Portal series, like, really lends a lot of credence to this theory that, hey, this is a shared universe, because they've all but written it down, like on Half-Life 2, like, so it brings around like another theory, more so a fan theory about the Half-Life universe, in that in the original Half-Life games, there was Gordon Freeman, of course, but then they added the expansion Blue Shift, where you played as I forget his last name, Barney, the security guard.
Because didn't Half-Life 1 have like 4 expansions? Or like it had several, I think.
Yeah, it had several expansions, but...
And those never get mentioned.
The main two were Blue Shift and Opposing Force.
Okay.
Now, Blue Shift, you played as a security guard, Barney Calhoun, and he's like the main security guard, like, companion you have in the Half-Life 2. But in Opposing Force, you play as this Marine, one of the Marines that was sent in to kill everybody, named Adrian Shepard. Right. And tying back to the G-Man thing, at the very end of Opposing Force, you meet the G-Man face-to-face as Adrian Shepard.
Okay.
And he said something about putting you on ice. And then, like, it fades to black and it says, like, subject Shepard, status, like, awaiting assignment.
Okay.
So
it becomes, like, how many people is, like, in the G-Man's quote-unquote employment?
Yeah.
Like, how many players does the G-Man have, like, coming into play? And one of the earliest theories about the Portalverse is that Adrian Shepard was going to be before they revealed that Chell, the main character for Portal, is a woman, a lot of people's theories were, oh, this is Adrian Shepard's game.
Right.
So
That would have been cool.
yeah, if Half-Life 3 ever gets made, like I fully expect like them to pull Adrian Shepard out of nowhere, but
And just have a really deep cut for people that are like now 45 years old that played
God.
the Half-Life when it came out.
Terrifying.
Oh man. So
like I'll probably be buying Half-Life 3 for like my grandkids.
yeah.
Well,
Seriously.
Sonny's, I've been waiting for this game since I was your age.
I think
The
Half-Life
generational gap will be a serious issue.
Well, Half-Life 3, I'm pretty sure is just going to be the Valve theme park whenever that happens.
Live as
you're
Gordon Freeman.
you're gonna live Half-Life 3. So
It better be better than the Resident Evil attractions in Japan.
they have those?
Oh God.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're super cheesy. dude.
Conspiracy,
Like,
man. Japan has everything, and we don't.
Well, speaking of which, I don't know how I'm gonna
Segue that bad boy. So we'll just jump into it. The one thing that I do credit Assassin's Creed, which we've discussed a couple podcasts ago when we were talking about stealth games, and we kind of subverted Assassin's Creed because it's not really a stealth game. It is a fun conspiracy game, though, in terms of the story. And I remember, it's been years since that game came out, but in high school, I remember a buddy, he was telling me about, like, the story of Assassin's Creed, and I'd only seen, like, the demos and played, like, a smidgen. And he was telling me about this mad conspiracy and how you're in a computer simulation, and it had, like, tones of the Matrix in there, and I was just like, what? Like, that's the game?
Yep.
yeah, and like one of the crazy things, like again, I'm not worried about spoilers because Assassin's Creed's been out for like 10 years now. So
Yeah.
Hey, man, I've been waiting for the X360 to go on Black Friday, and I was going to buy it.
All right.
Finally.
$15.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh, my gosh.
But
Seriously.
like the big conspiracy for Assassin's Creed was the fact that at the very end of the game, after you've done all these things, you killed all the Templars and brought peace back to the world, found all the pieces of Eden. You get booted out of the simulation. Your guy sits up, and there's bigwigs from Abstergo, the corporation that's doing everything, saying that, oh yeah, now we Templars can go out and take all the pieces of Eden and control the world.
Thanks,
And they're,
buddy.
Oh crap, what happened? Like, I thought I
Right.
killed all the Templars.
You know, is that technically the same exact plot twist as Shadow of Colossus? Where you kill all the Colossi and collect all their essences only to, like, form the deity, the evil deity that was split into the 16 souls. So you're kind of tricked the whole time to, like, collecting.
I'm not entirely familiar with Shadow of Colossus, other than
I mean,
it was like a
you're
huge
still tricked to do something you wouldn't want to do, but I guess the difference in this case is the quest for the pieces is just beginning.
Right. I guess the difference is there's one Shadow of Colossus and there's 47 Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah, now the mad scramble for the pieces of Eden begins.
Right.
So like they expanded upon the Templar conspiracy like in every single game, but one of the interesting things about the Assassin's Creed games is they ran out of like assassin protagonists.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is like the main like story is, oh hey, you're working for Sturgo Entertainment, and we have this new virtual reality thing that we want you to beta test.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
It's the game, and like they're secretly like data mining everyone's DNA like memories to try and like figure out where all the other pieces of Eden are.
Okay.
And
So-
like that's the main conspiracy theory of the Assassin's Creed games, but there's a moment in one of the Assassin's Creed games, I don't remember which one, but I think it's Black Flag, where the head CEO guy of Abstergo Entertainment says, oh hey, like I'm glad you're enjoying everything. I got to go to a meeting right now across town, but when I get back I'll talk to you about like, you know, your experiences, and we'll do like some Q&A stuff. And then he disappears and he's never seen again. But in the game Watch Dogs, which is a completely different game,
Quite.
you as the protagonist in Watch Dogs can do assassination contracts, and one of the assassination contracts is the guy, the CEO of Abstergo Entertainment, as he's on his way to his meeting.
What?
Get out of here.
Dang.
Yeah, so
So you're telling me is that there's an Ubiverse?
An Uberverse. Oh, no.
Not a boobyverse as much as we want.
No, an Uberverse. It's a taxi universe. It's just people driving each other everywhere.
Just civilian taxis, man. Who you can never get enough of those.
In a world where there are no normal taxis.
No Uber taxis.
In a world where civilians drive you.
Uber rules the world.
Who runs the world?
Yeah,
Uber. Uber runs the world. Uber. Okay, bad Beyonce references aside. Was it just in the Watch Dogs then that they kind of connected like Assassin's Creed to Watch Dogs?
Yes, that in that.
Or is it is it a Tom Clancy verse like off to the side?
Okay, so interesting fan theory about the Tom Clancy verse is in Splinter Cell Conviction, just out of nowhere, there's this crazy conspiracy to do something in DC. And if you haven't played Splinter Cell Conviction, you can also call it Bob McShooter's Shooty Adventure, where he snaps everyone's neck because it's basically not a Splinter Cell game.
I was gonna say I've been playing it recently, and like
we can attest to that.
Yeah, the interrogations are badass at first. You know, like you're just smashing guys' heads into lockers and like windows and stuff. Like, yeah, you're like get him, like give this guy what for, and then by like the 10th interrogation,
you're like I'm a monster.
He always just smashes their head into something. It grows a little stale.
Yeah, and
his answer really is to like shoot everything every time.
Yeah, and part of the like, there's that whole conspiracy theory of holy crap, Third Echelon's planning to do some kind of crazy operation on American soil, but also you find out in the game that there's these other players called Megiddo that are secretly funding and controlling Third Echelon from behind the scenes. And fan theory is that that's like an offshoot of the Templars from the Assassin's Creed games.
Okay.
Interesting.
How do they what's the... It's just the tone of it seems like that would fit, or is there...
It's like tone and methodology. They're trying to like exert control over things that like would extend their influence.
Right.
There's not really a whole lot of evidence, but...
Have you played the more recent Splinter Cell since Conviction?
Yes, Blacklist.
Does that tie into Conviction at all, or is it a reboot of sorts, or...
I would say it's sort of a reboot. Like, they're trying this weird thing where they make Sam Fisher younger every game, and like...
so you're telling me he's Benjamin Button?
Yeah, well, okay. Like a game where he calls his daughter, and his daughter's like an old granny, and he's like 17 years old.
The curious case of Benjamin Fisher.
I didn't know Benjamin buttoning is a verb, apparently.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Sam Fisher just snuck back into time and killed Father Time.
Really missed an opportunity, though, because like the whole thing with Megiddo, like there's this big conspiracy, and like Sam Fisher is torn between like, do I cut ties with the game entirely, or do I
oh, the proverbial game, like the
both,
like the espionage game and not the game Splinter Cell.
Yeah, both. Like
you're just like, I'm out, I'm done. Find yourself a new protagonist for this game.
Stop putting me in Splinter Cell games.
I want to go join Assassin's Creed. This is bullocks.
Right,
I'm out.
Because that makes sense.
He's like, shoot, just put me in Watch Dogs. I'll take even like your B games.
Yeah, but like they miss this whole opportunity where like, oh hey, we have this big conspiracy, like this secret organization secretly controlling Third Echelon and like other people across the world, and then like they just kind of threw it out and like, oh hey, this group called the Engineers wants Americans to go back to America. And so that's like the whole plot of Blacklist.
Interesting.
So they're trying to deport Americans back to America?
Sort of. Like,
is that a thing?
They want all the American troops and like bases and stuff like that to stop.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Oh,
yeah.
So forceful deportation.
Yeah, so like they missed an opportunity to capitalize on that. I'm sure that's what the next Splinter Cell game is going to be is tying those two together. But they could just go off in a completely different direction and have like a Splinter Cell game where you're just like in a helicopter on a minigun the entire game, because that's where it's going.
So, yeah, right. Every stealth game slowly becomes an action game. Every horror game slowly becomes an action game, because go look at Resident Evil 4 to
Oh,
Resident
boy.
Evil 5 to Resident Evil 6, and then go look at Dead Space 1 to Dead Space 2 to Dead Space 3, and then Dead Space 3 rolls around and you're shooting other space soldiers, and you look to yourself and you say, I didn't realize I was playing Halo. I thought I was playing Dead Space.
But there's like that little saw cutty thing.
Right, that's
Every game is Halo.
yeah, it's true. Every game is Halo. It's
Every
definitely
game is either Halo or Call of Duty.
true.
And
True.
Except for when Call of Duty becomes Halo.
that moment when Halo 4 was
Halo is
Call of
starting
Duty.
to become Halo. Halo is starting to become Call of Duty because
Starting to become Halo.
the scope and stuff, like, it's just aimed down the sights now.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It definitely is. They even went to I was talking to my buddy today that let me borrow Halo 5, and they finally made it to where left trigger's iron sights, or
Yeah.
like scope, and then right trigger shoot, and I couldn't handle it. I was like, this is not Halo. I had to change it. I had to go back to where you press on the right stick to scope, because that's been Halo for like 29 years.
See, once I played a Fallout where it was Call of Duty mechanics for going down the sights, I like it better that way.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I need to just quit being such a stick in the mud, because I think it's clearly a good way
Hey,
to
maybe
play
you'll
it.
stop
But
inverting
left
everything,
trigger's
too.
been grenade for... No, I'll never stop.
Maybe you'll stop
inverting it.
inverting everything too and become to the normal side of the force.
See, what if that? Like, that's the conspiracy, is that I'm right and everyone else is wrong in the whole world.
You know what you sound like, Kevin? You know
Invert
what you
is
sound-
actually normal, Mike, and normal is inverted.
Oh boy.
So,
I mean, speaking of
Call of Duty.
yeah, as long as we're there.
So Call of Duty, there was two basic offshoots of Call of Duty. There was like World at War turns into the Black Ops series, and then there's also Modern Warfare, which has nothing to do with any of the other Call of Duty games,
Right.
except for like one Easter egg in Black Ops 1.
Well, and the logistical reason for that was two different developers, right?
Infinity
at
Ward.
least at the start, it was Treyarch doing one.
It was Treyarch and Infinity Ward until Infinity Ward got gutted and turned into Sledgehammer.
Is it just all Treyarch now?
No, they have Sledgehammer and Treyarch, and I forget what the third group is. But I
So-
want to say Treyarch made Black Ops 3. Sledgehammer made the last...
The Advanced Warfare.
yeah, I think they made Advanced Warfare, and then like EA has a third studio, I think. Or not EA, Activision has a third studio that's making another Call of Duty game.
Oh my gosh! So they're gonna be coming out 2 a year now.
Does the word saturation mean anything to these people?
Basically, it has like a 3-year development cycle, so they can cram more like innovation.
You mean DLC and money? I mean,
See, that's why. Yeah,
Hold on,
just
innovations, like because Call of Duty does add a little bit more to the formula every game.
right. That's why my theory. I mean, I'm not a big enough Call of Duty fan to play any of them, but I would wait. Like maybe every third Call of Duty would be the one to go to.
yeah.
Kind of a thing.
And even
Same thing
that'll
with
have
Madden.
discount.
Like you can't buy every Madden because you're getting a marginal difference that you can't tell like year to year. But if you would give it 3 years, you'd probably be like, whoa, and you'd be reaping the benefits of 3 years of innovation.
Yeah.
Definitely, and one of the things about Call of Duty, actually, speaking of innovations, the guys that created Infinity Ward left and created Respawn Entertainment after EA shot.
And they made Titanfall, correct?
Yeah, they made Titanfall. And Titanfall, there's a lot of... there's double jumping and wall running and stuff like that. It's basically Call of Duty, but every now and then you call down like a gigantic robot and play Mech Warrior for
Wait a
few
minute.
minutes.
Every couple minutes, a Titan falls.
Got it.
Was that what
Got
I
him.
going with it?
But Black Ops 3, the new movement system that basically they refined the one from Advanced Warfare where like you just boost everywhere. Black Ops 3 has, guess what, double jumps and wall running.
Right.
It's coming back full circle.
I mean,
Yeah, pretty
it's
much.
a good thing that you can't really patent game features like you can interface.
Oh yeah, that everybody would have to
interface
pay
features.
Nintendo X
Well,
number of dollars for every
Right,
time
because
you
if
wanna
somebody
get
had
to
just
play jump.
appled this bad boy and just been like, "You want to use left trigger for iron sights? You're gonna have to pay up a royalty, or
God.
you can't do that." Because I remember Apple was trying to like patent like this is the ultimate conspiracy if we're talking about it. They were trying to patent the act of widening your fingers to zoom in on a screen.
Oh yeah, dude. You should if you ever have a lot of time in your hands, look at all the crap Apple. I mean,
has tried to patent.
Don't buy their little we're the hip new guy kind of thing. We're there for the individual. We're not a corporate scary entity. BS. You sue everyone.
Apple's been around like longer than Microsoft.
Oh yeah,
right. They are the ultimate big bad boys.
Of course, the only reason they're still around is because they got bailed out by Microsoft when they're about to go under. Because if they had gone under, conspiracy theory alert. If they had gone under, the theory is that since Microsoft would have a monopoly on
ripped up.
the PC software market, the government would have forcefully ripped it up into like 5 or 6 different companies.
Really? So that's why they saved Apple?
That's less of a conspiracy theory and more of a just like documented incident.
That's just factual.
Like that's what happened.
When you tell people that like Microsoft, especially like the Apple snobs, like if you tell them that like Microsoft is the reason why Apple's still around, they look at you like you like
just
heresy,
like their fingers or something.
Right.
Kill him, he's a witch. Get him. Get him.
But going back, Call of Duty. So the 2 main branches of the story, Modern Warfare, which is now finished, and Black Ops, which is ongoing.
Nick, I'm gonna need to ask you to refer to it as Blops from now on. We're trying to get this cast over with in a timely fashion.
Okay, so Blops deals with like all these like Black Ops type things. So Blops deals with Blops going on like from like the 50s onward.
Oh my glops.
So
that sounds, dude. Honestly, Blop sounds like an Adventure Time game.
Blop sounds like a couple of things.
Adventure Time, like Blops Attack or something like that.
So Blops.
Blop sounds like.
Anyways, let's let Nick talk now.
So Blops 1, your American spec ops dude that gets captured by the Russians in the very beginning of the game, and you get like tortured, and then
we have Maze
the
of
big
making
twist of the
talk.
game is that like you were tortured, and also like your mind was reprogrammed by one of the heroes from World at War because he was also imprisoned or something. Basically, he mind wipes you into becoming him at points in the game, and then like at the very end of the game, like when you fight the big bad, you're like your brainwashing didn't work on me, and then he's like, oh really, it didn't, and then you kill him. And then at the very end of Black Ops, like after the credits, there's like a photo of like the protagonist like in the background while JFK is walking to his limo in Dallas.
Oh no!
Like implying that he's the one that shot JFK.
Well, that bomb got dropped.
So,
how did they know? How did they find out though? How did the Black Ops people know this?
I
don't know.
Somebody with a camera.
This is crazy. I didn't know that they solved it. Like legitimately, that's badass. I didn't know we knew. We gotta like tell more people about this, guys. We know who killed JFK.
I don't know.
We got him.
That would attract a lot of unwanted attention from people.
Well, that reminds me. If anybody who likes conspiracy theories, look up a manga series called Billy Bat. Yes, it's gonna look trippy. Just
Billy what?
Billy Bat, as if like a flappy little mammal that flies at night. Billy Bat.
Oh, see, I was thinking baseball bat, like Billy.
That's what I thought it meant too. Because for a while, someone's like, we should read Billy Bat." I'm like, I don't want to read a baseball manga, and it's like, it's not a baseball manga.
Anthropomorphized baseball bat,
yeah,
or
like,
something.
or maybe it's just a baseball player. It's like, I'm Billy Bat. Wow. But no, actually, it's really dark, twisted, and weird. I don't have time to explain it. I really
kills
don't.
JFK.
The JFK assassination's a thing in that. Yeah, I'm sounding cryptic, but that's all.
What do you guys think?
We don't have time to talk about it.
Real quick aside, what do you guys think is the most popular conspiracy of all time?
Of all time?
Yeah, is it JFK?
Of all time, aliens.
Just anything having where you can attribute it to aliens being, like
New World Order conspiracy is probably the most time honored because it's been around since the 1930s. Basically, it was a bunch of white supremacist people afraid. Originally, it was white supremacist people afraid that the Jews were taking over the world.
See, what I'm curious of is like, when did the aliens thing come about? Like, because obviously people in like 1,000 years ago probably could have looked at Stonehenge and been like, we can't even do that now. Like, how is that a thing? I wonder if they were just instantly like, boom, aliens, or if it wasn't until more of like we were aware of outer space that we started coming to the conclusion of aliens must have done this.
I mean, like, the
Celts thought the gods did it.
Like,
that's true. It was probably always the gods before it was aliens.
Yeah, there's relatively like every culture like has like their own drawing of a flying saucer allegedly, and like every culture has like their own drawing of like the people with like the weird cone-shaped heads. And,
So that's how we know that that's what they look like.
yeah, and like
Oh, boy.
pyramids. Like someone tried to argue that pyramids are like the biggest evidence of the fact that like there was some kind of either one like New World Order type society or alien influence on Earth, and like a lot of people bought into it until like someone pointed out, hey, like a triangle is kind of like the best way to stack things up without them falling down again. So,
or you know, the fact that they're literally all the different pyramids on the planet that people like to bring up, they're millennia apart and it aren't in common at all, except for the fact that it's a square base with a triangle.
Right.
yeah.
I mean,
They're just geometrically similar.
again,
Yeah, that's it.
As Nick so eloquently put it, the architects all come to the same right conclusions. This is how we build stuff so where they don't fall down.
Right.
Yeah.
Like math usually has a way of like coming to the same conclusion if
Yeah.
it's sound. You know what I mean?
And honestly, I think that when it comes to real conspiracy theories, the scary ones are the ones that subconsciously affect people's habits, whether it be voting or how they treat people. So, for instance, up until very recently,
Like I'm gonna be a much better boy this year now that I know Krampus is gonna drag
yeah.
me out of the woods and have his way with me.
so there's a book
That
called
sounds dirty.
I don't know, man. We don't know what he does out in the woods.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
we don't know anything about
I think if
Krampus.
it wasn't risque, he wouldn't waste time going and dragging you to the woods where nobody could see what
He's
he does.
gonna he's gonna Krampus you.
It's true.
That's just, that's what's
Yeah, Nick. He has the word cram
Oh, God.
in his name.
Oh god. Well, but sorry, to take a real world example, there's a book called The Orders of the Priory of Sion, or I think that's what it's called. Don't read it. Don't look it up. It's stupid. But it was a book that supposedly highlighted how the Jewish Zionist, cabal, this dark group of bankers behind the scenes were taking over the world slowly. And really, what it was white supremacist, anti-Semitism being peddled to the masses, so that hey, listen, we really need to get on this. They're going to take us over. And even though most people knew that book was bollocks, it influenced voting habits. It influenced how Europe treated the Jews for a long time.
Yeah.
It was actually integral in a lot of really messed up stuff, and most people knew it was fake.
Right.
How many people are still convinced that 9/11 was an inside job?
Too many.
No, like probably 2 out of 5.
I mean,
yeah.
and as any employee of the government will attest, we're not competent enough to do that.
Right.
Yeah, I work for the government, and it's like a struggle to try to get me to work every day. I'm not joking. Like my life has basically become, what can I do today to avoid working at all?
Not only the fact that you
Sorry, but like 100 Ron Swanson monologues just like
yes.
flooded up to my brain.
What is the government's purpose? Nothing.
Yeah, there isn't one.
There isn't one.
Trick question.
Oh my gosh.
Coming back to video games, I don't really want to go back into COD Blops.
Well, you know what?
This man is peak efficiency. He is a machine. I knew you were a machine.
Well, you know where we can go?
I can assure you that I am not a machine.
Oh dear.
That was the most machine-like response. Yeah.
Thank you for answering
That's
that
what
question.
a machine would say. If you were a machine, you wouldn't just say, "Yeah, I'm a machine." You would.
I don't know what you are talking about, Kevin.
I was a machine, and I knew that you knew that I was a machine. Would I continue to talk like a machine?
See, but if I knew that
Beep,
you knew
boop,
that I
beep,
knew, do you
boop,
think
boop, beep,
I would call
boop.
attention to the fact that I know that you know that I know that this joke has been done in
Oh dear God!
1,000 different movies?
All right, moving on.
Sorry, I
We're-
couldn't
to
resist.
escape this.
I know now why it's done so often.
To-
You can't resist it.
To escape the apocalypse of jokes around us, we're gonna go into some vaults, guys. We're gonna
Oh
go into
my
these vaults,
gosh.
and
Alright.
Nice pun.
these fallout shelters, as they're called, these vaults.
He's taking shelter from these bad jokes that are causing the apocalypse. And he's,
Yeah. You know what he said to the guy that made puns at the dinner table during Thanksgiving?
What?
He said, "Josh, you're ruining Thanksgiving."
You've now given me something I'm not thankful for.
But in all seriousness, and this will be a really quick
Yeah,
one.
we are talking about Fallout.
Fallout vaults. Surprise! They're not actually to save you, and that's like the canon now. Like before, it was straight up like a theory
Right.
because every single one of the vaults you'd run into, you'd like read the logs and it's like, oh, something went wrong.
Right.
Vault 13. Oh, something.
So
was
it's more
wrong.
of an Easter egg thing to begin with, like fun little
blurb.
collectibles or whatever you call it.
Well, you just it was just in the fluff. It was in the lore. You knew that each vault had something wrong.
Right.
And then somebody basically like asked Todd Howard, so are the vaults even like there to help people? And Todd Howard's just like, no. And so that it then became canon. But the whole time, every single vault had something really. And sometimes things were as simple as the vault from the original Fallout game, which came out in the 90s, so I don't feel bad spoiling this. Your water purifier broke, so you had to go get a new one. And so it was like, what happens when there's no water? What happens to the society in that case? There's another one where it's like, okay, the reactor shuts down and releases radiation. What happens to those people?
Oh my god!
No, so there's like a sliding scale of messed uppery.
Well, like then you have like the kind of joke vaults, I guess that I would call it, is like one man with like nothing but sock puppets, and like let's put one dude in a room with a panther for 100 years and see what happens.
Oh my
like,
gosh!
One dude with 900 women, or like 900 dudes with one woman. Like,
oh god!
Like I feel
bad for
some
her.
of them are jokes, but at the same time fit the mold of like, hey, the vaults aren't good.
Yeah.
I want to elaborate on the one dude, 900 women, but I don't know how to do it without probably sounding like a
oh no, dude, I
raging misogynist.
The one guy with the 100, the one guy with the 99 women lucked out.
Well,
lucked out. The one woman with the 99 men.
Oh, that's true.
I'm so sorry. I am so.
It's not going.
It turns out that all the women in the 99 women vault are actually not attracted to men.
That would be cruel.
I mean,
it's a social experiment, remember?
I mean,
that'd be the ultimate cruelty.
I mean, we just need alcohol. We can make this work.
See, this is like when it's funny because you know how whenever you watch like messed up movies, like I Saw the Devil or like Old Boy and stuff.
Oh god!
Like, how could they think of that? You realize like it's really easy to go down a dark path of like,
oh dude,
this is more messed up than that thing, and it starts out innocent. No, you know, it'd be really more messed up than that. What if this happened? It's really easy to get carried away down that train.
It's like in this movie, this guy got his leg stuck in a bear trap. Like, oh well, let's put that up a little bit. Like, what if he was stuck in a bear trap and he was on fire?
You're right. It never just jumps from like, oh man, what if the guy's car flipped over to like, oh, what if a bear ate his testicles? Like, it never. That's not like a one-step process.
Wait a minute. How did we get from here to here?
You're right. There's like 50 shades of.
Nope, we're not doing that.
All right,
that's it. We're out.
So, Fallout Vaults, I never knew that, by the way, until tonight. That they were not designed to help people. They just had a nice little auxiliary application.
Well, and it's not like they're
that facilitated the entire game.
Yeah, pretty much.
So if evil people, so you should be thanking the evil people because without them wanting to run these very cruel experiments, you'd have no game to play.
Well, and that's not to say there weren't like Fallout shelters that actually were Fallout shelters, because they were. And so you get various factions that pop up, but yeah, that always cracked me up. It's like
the Vault Tech.
Vault Tech vaults are not like Vault Tech. We're here to protect. No, you're not. And actually, you need to look up anybody who's listening. You need to look up the Sock Puppet comic because the ending is hilariously creepy,
including this guy. I will look that up.
I'll look into that.
Write it down. We'll link it. So there's, I think we can all agree, probably like 50,000 games that would have been worth talking about that we probably missed. But
Secret World.
Yeah, Secret World,
where all the main character like faction. It's an MMO. It's 3 factions, but all 3 factions are conspiracy theories, like the Illuminati, Knights Templar, and the third one is made up for the game. I don't remember what it is.
Probably something Asian.
Yeah, basically.
Why did they just do triads then?
Because that's not conspiracy enough.
That's not really conspiracy. That's
we all know they're there. Yeah.
I mean, except that, well, they're. I don't have time to explain why they are.
The quadrads, then.
I mean, they are actually like in a way a conspiracy theory because. I don't
and he digests.
Yeah. Like in other media, like there's a pen and paper RPG called Feng Shui. It's about like the various conspiracy theories that basically try to vie for world control throughout time.
Okay.
Worth looking into if you're a pen and paper RPG kind of guy.
Feng Shui. So it's like the D&D variety, not necessarily that it is exactly like D&D, but just mean like tabletop.
It's like if D&D was a Hong Kong action movie about ninjas fighting sorcerers, and like
well, I mean, technically you shape D&D to be any way you want it, and so apparently it was just my D&D campaigns are the only ones, I guess, that are like Hong Kong thrillers.
That's true. But no, like the actual rule system is supposed to be like reminiscent of Hong Kong action movies.
Okay. Does that include Jackie Chan movies?
Yes.
Especially
Jackie Chan, then I can get behind that. Let's wrap this up, boys. Let's talk about, for our final game, Deus Ex Human Revolution. So this is there's only been 2 games, correct, Nick?
Well,
in the Deus Ex series?
There's Deus Ex games. There's the original Deus Ex, and there was Invisible War.
So then this is the most recent one, which is still going back a couple years.
Human Revolution. There's going to be like another Deus Ex game. I forget what the subtitle is. It's a direct sequel.
Okay.
But
see, the name for this series cracks me up. It's a quirk of language to language, literal meaning versus figurative meaning. The term Deus Ex is referring to Deus Ex Machina, which we've talked about before. Means God in the machine. It's a plot device that happens to alter a story that's a little bit... It breaks it, basically. But
yeah, it's basically something random happens for absolutely no reason. It's like act of God.
It's like beyond like the laws of physics.
Yeah. And I don't know, one of our casts I explained the literal meaning of where that phrase came from. But it's interesting that these guys took Machina, and they know that means machine, and so they took it out and put Deus Ex, because we can assume the Machina, and it's kind of cool. Except that I, who know some Latin, goes, God inside the... ... Because that's what that means. That means the God is inside something, and it doesn't say what it is.
The human revolution.
Yeah, God is inside the human revolution.
Yeah, I mean, that's like one of the main themes of the game is like playing God with like augmentations and stuff like that. And especially there's like a few factions. Like there's the Illuminati. They're in the game. Like you don't directly interact with them until the very end, but there's the Illuminati. There's a group that works for, basically you work for Seraph Industries, and they're an augment manufacturing company, augment development company, and like so you're competing with another company from Hong Kong that's based in Hong Kong, while your
always comes back to Hong Kong.
I know, right?
Hong Kong 1982.
But
Hong Kong 97.
Okay, there's that, yeah.
Like the other companies considerably like more are I guess less scrupulous about how they do business. They're more dirty business kind of people, so like they've done things like artificially control like the drug that allows people to have augments without going crazy,
right?
Neuropozyne. And there's like a lot of politics about augments and people like moving behind the scenes to alter that. And then of course, there's the main conspiracy of like the bad guys that come in and wreck Seraph Industries in the very beginning. Like, well, who did they come? Where did they come from? Like, why are they there? And you find out. It integrates like the thing about the Illuminati, New World Order stuff. The FEMA. If you look it up, it's kind of creepy, but I'm not entirely sure if there's any like legitimacy to it. But the FEMA death camps.
Okay.
Oh yeah, those were It's
It's supposed to be like shelters, but they look like concentration camps, basically. You'd have to... I can't really do it justice in what time we have left, but...
Right.
There's actually a twist in the game. I mean, the game came out like 7 years ago or something. I don't remember. It was on the 360. We're a whole like console generation past that, so...
Right.
Spoilers or no spoilers?
Oh, spoilers.
Spoilers!
Just do it.
Okay, so...
Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday you said
game,
today.
You find out that your augments are getting kind of glitchy, and the opposing company, the bad guys, worldwide, augments are becoming glitchy because of some signal, and the bad company is like, oh hey, we can fix that. We have a chip for that.
We got an app for that.
Yeah. And so, like, towards the end of the game, you confront, like, the main evil boss lady. And depending on whether or not you got the chip or not, that boss battle is either not not an easy boss battle, but significantly less challenging than if you got the chip. Because if you got the chip, you lose out on like a couple glitches in your software here and there that like don't really affect you too much. But if you got the chip, then like you don't have those. But
you have like a new bevy of problems.
Yeah, basically she pulls out like a remote that activates that chip, and like for you, it completely disables all the augments that you spent the entire game acquiring.
Right.
So, like, you lose out on pretty much everything, and you have to fight this boss that's invisible, also augmented, dude.
You basically have to, like, Metroid it, where you're, like, fighting Ridley, and somehow all your powers got stolen.
Yeah, that's if you were dumb and were like, oh, the evil corporations come out with the solution to my problems, let me just blindly get that.
Right. They have all my best interests in mind. It's actually, that's cool, though, that they let the conspiracy from the plot standpoint impact the gameplay. I actually like that.
Yeah, and also, like, going into the plot, you hear about this project that's going on in, like, the Arctic, where they're creating basically, like, an artificial ice cap, almost. Like, basically, like a big hole, like a big dam in the middle of the ocean that spreads out the water or something to prevent global warming.
Right.
Because global warming is a topic in the game that they talk about. And, like, it turns out that, like, global warming scare is manufactured so that they could get the funding to build this sanctuary.
Oh, I bet Republicans love
solution.
that game.
Yeah, it's like basically like the global warming thing was manufactured so they could build the project, and the project was actually supposed to be like a central control point for pretty much everybody that had augments.
Okay.
And like that was the whole like end game of the conspiracy, is because like augments are new and scary, the evil bad guys want to control it.
Okay.
Huh.
So, man, so basically Deus Ex Human Revolution takes every conspiracy theory and sees if it can jam-pack it into one game.
Well, there was no Bigfoot.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, right.
Actually, I think there's like reference to
There is reference to Bigfoot.
God.
Oh god.
there might be reference to like Bigfoot, but there's also reference to like what was it? Fluorine in the water. Fluoridated water.
Oh my goodness.
It all comes full circle.
Full circle, dude.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, Nick, I think, Mike, we're about out of time.
Yes, we are.
Nick, thank you for coming on. Whether you're real or not, thank you
Of
for
course.
helping open our eyes to the greater world of conspiracies in games.
You must admit the truth. There is no Nick.
Right. So,
Allegedly, there is still Nick.
allegedly.
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 Who's alleging? I'm alleging.
I am alleged. Man, we're going down to remember that dark
That
dark path that you incrementally fall down. Yeah.
We're like, oh my God.
We've tumbled quite a ways, and
We're down the rabbit hole.
let's say this topic is corrupting our souls. So obviously, again, there's tons of games. Like we covered, like 5 games out of Infinity games that have been made in the history of the
Yeah,
world.
of course.
But we'll see, Nick. If you want to come on sometime, maybe we could do it for movies. I mean, that would be an even longer
Oh
list.
god, we'd have to do a 3-parter for that.
Yeah.
Or if there's any other fun twists, like if we want to, like, it'd be fun. Here's what we could do: we could look at books that have conspiracies that have been adapted to movies, and then see how they changed it, because that could be a conspiracy in and of itself.
That could be interesting.
Again,
So meta.
So down the rabbit hole right now. It's not even funny. So now I'm going to go to sleep and ponder everything in reality and whether or not it is reality.
Psst, he's not gonna sleep.
Nick, I hope you get some sleep if you do in fact sleep now that you're an AI machine.
Even robots need sleep sometimes.
Yeah, right. I guess you got to shut down every once in a while. Nick, any last comments?
I can assure you that I am still not a robot.
I appreciate that. Mike, any last words?
Thank you for listening, everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. Post some of your favorite video game conspiracy theories, or better yet, just spit out some of your favorites in general. Or if you're a tinfoil hat wearer,
Right.
why don't you elaborate on why your conspiracy is accurate?
And let us know what the new conspiracies are. There's probably new ones being cooked up.
Oh, of course.
Every day.
Oh, like lizard people.
Yeah, that's another podcast.
On that note,